If I'm this backlit, it can only mean I'm recording in the afternoon. It means I got home from work today. It's the beginning of a 3-day weekend for me. It's the mid-semester break. And what am I doing with my free time here? I am frantically punching myself in the face, as Justin Hunt would inform me to do, and trying to get you to punch yourself in the face for missing, maybe, this album Sortilège by Gabe Nandez. I don't know what I've been doing. I've got so many top level auditors, people whose names I've seen for years and whose commentary I appreciate and respect, tell me, Skye, you got to check out Nandez. Skye, you got to check out Sortilège. I see the French, I see the rap, I see it's on Backwoods, and I've just been missing it. But listen, it's been a weird semester, okay? My main channel, this one, is kind of dying. I don't know what's going on there. My second channel is flourishing because I'm doing all these lessons on the history of Haiti and the sociology and all that and the culture of Haiti. So I'm weirdly kind of too busy. I've always been too busy, but I'm somehow just too busy. So I just want to thank everybody who's been asking me to review this. I want to apologize to the entire world who is a fan of me and a fan of this album and just been sitting there for the past couple months, because this came out in August, just saying, I don't understand. What does it take to be a Professor Skye album? Okay? What is my wheelhouse? What is really in my Q zone? Okay? Rock, River, Roll, right? What is in my Q zone? What is a Professor Skye album? Well, it's good if it's like an underground hip-hop album with an intellectual bent. Check. Bonus, if it directly correlates to or discusses race relations in America, or, I don't know, post-colonial realities in the world, or, I don't know, both. Check. Extra bonus if it has anything to do with France or the Francophone, which means French speaking, the French or Francophone world. Check. Extra bonus if it has any French language or any anti-English sentiment or implied anti-English hegemony content. Check. Extra bonus if it contains references to media that I love, to music or books that I love, like Apocalypse Now. Check. Extra bonus if I can tie it in to stories of buying music in the 90s. Super duper extra check if I can tie in a ridiculously personal story about looking for pornography in my father's dresser. Okay? All those things. Plus a little bit of hip-hop history I get to throw out at you. All of this. So I get it. I understand why, you've been asking. What have I been waiting for? I don't know. But I'm telling you, this is one of the albums of the year. This is definitely one of the rap albums of the year. It is just an amazing piece of art. It is worthy of the Backwoods label that it is on. It is both elevated by being on Backwoods, and it is elevating Backwoods itself. Just amazing. So the main thing is, why is there all this French on there? Well, it's because he is half Malian, from the country of Mali. Now listen, I'm not an expert on Mali. Okay, I've taught it a couple times, sort of like in a kind of a broad decolonization process of France, or the nature of the French Empire, or how it exists now, or, the influence of Malian people in France. There's a great French rapper, Oxmo Puccino, one of the greats of all time. He's of Malian descent. I have books like this that I've read, about the end of empire in West Africa. That certainly applies. Greater France, a history of overseas expansion. I did want to read you this little bit in here about Mali, just to give you an idea. Just even a book that's sort of supposed to be neutral about colonization, even with a provocative cover like that, where you're supposed to look at it and say, man, what kind of horse hockey is that? What kind of weird racist beliefs did the French have? Listen to the way this is described. And this, by the way, is not a bad introduction to the way that Mali is often seen. No single place so excited explorers and would-be conquerors to the mythical African city of Timbuktu. Founded on the Niger River in the 12th century, Timbuktu dominated the caravan routes which carried salt and gold to the coast, served as a meeting point of Arabic and Black African civilizations. That's one of the important things about Mali, is that it's a mixture of those two civilizations, which sometimes devolves into civil war, sometimes doesn't, and was a major Islamic cultural center. In the late 15th and 16th century, Timbuktu was also the center of the Songhai Empire before it fell under the control of the Moroccans, supplanted by the nomadic Tuaregs, More about them later. Reports reaching Europe describe supposed wealth and magnificence of Timbuktu, embroidered by legends about rivers of gold and snakes which slaked their thirst on gold dust. It goes on to describe how that wasn't really what it was. And this is the way this book describes the French adventures into Mali, or Sudan as it was at that point. The conquest had endowed France with a colony largely devoid of use, except prestige. This is why when people talk about history being written by the vanquishers, this is why you need other books. This is why you need books like this, like New Dimensions in African history. You need to go to more than just like stuffy old white guys talking devoid of anything but prestige. But anyway, so I know a little bit about they have some beautiful architecture there, going back to that Songhai Empire, going back to the Mali Empire. I like that the album cover of this it's called the Fulani hat, which is like a traditional hat of many people in Mali. Again, Mali is very divided between the sort of black African and the Arabic influences. The title itself is in French. It means like a spell. It's a word I learned when I was teaching Harry Potter in French. Sortilège. It's a great word, and it gives to the whole kind of mysterious, definitely mystical feeling that this entire album has. Now, who is Gabe apostrophe Nandez? I don't know. He's so mysterious. All that I know about him is that he's half Malian. I don't know what the other half is. I've seen reports that he lives in New York. I've seen reports that he lives in Montreal. I don't know. He's got this great smoky voice, very Rakim-like, very Ka-like, very Elucid-like, that kind of like real, just baritone, straight up, just man voice rap. And he's very, very at home in Backwoods here, Billy Woods' label. I think he's an interesting comparison with Billy Woods because, this album has made me revisit Gollywog. And damn it, I'm sorry, I don't want to say that word because that's a racist slur, but it's the title of the album, so I apologize. I will just call it Gumby Wumby. I need to revisit Gumby Wumby because I think it's probably better than I thought it was, and I think I called it a masterpiece, but I really been enjoying revisiting it. But Gabe apostrophe Nandez is not like as ambitious or thematically consistent, but he still is very deep, very interesting, very amazingly skilled at rhymecraft, as I will show you very soon. Very capable of weaving together the political and the personal. Lots of good political stuff here, lots of personal stuff. He says he's a recovered addict. He appears to have issues with women. I mean, I think he says he has problems with HOs, but I think it kind of goes deeper than that. Maybe it's that he says he's pushing 30, so it's hard to be as wise as Woods without being as old as Woods, right? And it made me realize, it's a tufted titmouse just made that noise. It made me realize that AOTY, the Billy Woods album, is like one of the most important albums in the history of this channel, I think. Like, it's not that it got me the most views, but like the viewers that I got on that video, I feel like 100% of the people who watched my Ethiops review subscribed, and which, by the way, you can do that. You can subscribe right now if you haven't. My channel's in free fall. I need subscribers. Join my Patreon. Awesome videos always. Comment and like. It all helps. But I feel like 100% of the people who saw that subscribed to me, became commenters. A lot of them joined Patreon. And like the song Sauvage, which was my introduction to Gabe Nandez, was thus, maybe not the song, but maybe the song, like the most important song, or the song I'm most attached to, especially the way that it tied into the themes of the ways that people of African descent are perceived of by Europeans, especially when Europeans are plundering Africa, the way that they're perceived, the colonial mindset, how they see things as savage while they commit acts that can be only described as inhuman genocide on these people who they justify destroying through calling them savages. I mean, like, it's all tied in together. And if we're to take like a big step back from this album, from Sortilège, I think we'd sort of have that as one of the big themes, if not the theme of the album. So the perception, the colonial perception of people of African descent and the way they are dehumanized in the name of some kind of distinction between European sophistication and perceived African savagery. I don't know. That's just some of the stuff that's going on in this album. God damn, can you believe I almost missed it? And Preservation, DJ Preservation. It turns out he produced all of Etiopes, which I know, but I didn't really register it. So this is my official apology. Je suis désolé. DJ Preservation. Apparently he's half French. That's part of their connection there. Alors, très bien. Vous êtes très bien fait. But I think, looking at his discography, like how he's worked with Ka, and I've reviewed that, and how much he's done with Woods and everything, like I realized, like, I am a huge fan of DJ Preservation, but somehow, I think 'cause I don't like his name, I just don't like Preservation, it makes me think of condoms, because in French, condoms are préservatifs. So, don't go to France and ask for bread without preservatives. You'll be saying you'd like bread without condoms. They rarely put condom in breads in France. But he just, I don't have the avant-garde-ometer for rap beats. I don't know where it is. I'll find it. But if I did, it would just be off the charts for most of this. But what's so great is that the whole album is like one song. Everything just flows in from one thing to the next. Most of the songs just have like one verse and some really well chosen vocal snippets, like spoken word snippet samples put in many different languages. And all the songs are like just connected, and there's this kind of like dustiness, and there's this international flair, which at times reminds me of Malian music, which at times reminds me of like Thai music and Indonesian music, just a sort of general thing out there. And I've been sleeping, even though I've been spending a lot of time on this channel praising DJ Preservation, I feel like this is the time where I finally like really get it. Okay, he's one of those guys. It's not like if there is a tier list, he belongs on the same tier as Kenny Siegel, not like a tier below, which is what I had in my head. But whatever. I'm not doing a tier list right now. But let me give you an example. An example song, Bassinet, Bascinet. So listen, I do speak French, but I did not know that word for a kind of weird medieval helmet. I'm not quite sure why. I tell you, this album is really mysterious. Who are these people? What are they talking about? Where are they? You can't even tell who the person is on the album cover. You don't even know because you don't really understand French. But what does Sortilège mean? And this amazingly funky bass line with this cassava percussion. What DJ Preservation does as well as anybody is he develops the beats just the right amount to the point where you're never bored, you're always intrigued. And then these like full on like 70s detective theme horns just, and then they build up and they get louder and louder and louder and louder, and then they straight up fade out and they're like slightly detuned. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. And then it restarts, and it's the perfect bed for these lyrics. This is what makes me like Gabe Nandez so much, is how good of a rapper he is while it feels so effortless. So I'm going to do the thing where I show you a bunch of highlighted rhymes and everything. It's like he does multisyllabic rhymes, but like he doesn't do the same rhyme scheme for like 15 bars. Some of them are mosaic, which means one word rhyming with two, like escargot, my cargo, right? That's 3 words in 1 word. That's the multisyllabic rhyme scheme there by Biggie. But like not a lot. He uses alliteration about as well as you can, because alliteration often can just be kind of, it can be sort of push and pee. It's like, okay, I get it. Like you use like 11 words that start with P. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you. But he's able to do it just so subtly. My favorite thing he does, and this is probably my favorite thing that Biggie did, I believe the best in rap history, is going on rhyme runs and then having a handoff. A handoff where either you introduce the next rhyme scheme in the last line of the previous rhyme scheme, or you let the previous rhyme scheme hang on for one extra line. So it's like a handoff. I'll show you what I mean. See, here's my... This is my paper right here. But good news for you, I am so technologically savvy that I actually figured out how to put this up on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Skye, 1999, here I come. Okay? So here's the example, all right? You can see that over there. You can read it, I hope. All right? You can see on the screen. I'll move over here so that I'm more here. Just look at the skill here. Stacking my medals like legals, from scores I settle, sit and watch the peasants settle for pebbles, get on my level. So we have the multisyllabic, just single words, metals, Legos, settle, pebble, level. And then you have this wonderful, that what alliteration does is it creates percussion, right? So that's what we have: score, settle, sit, score, settle, sit, peasant, pebble, score, settle, sit. Losers call the kettle black, was the pot, I'll simmer regardless. So here, keep on going, it changes. Regardless becomes like hartle, like the heart sound gets in there. Hartle, pedal backwards. The lacerations is carved in, regardless. Heavy-hearted, hearted, regardless, heart carved in, and long-faced. On the bright side, some heroes don't want capes. So this is that handoff I'm talking about. The rhyme scheme is going to go from the guardless rhyme scheme, carved in, hearted, guardless, into ong-faced. It's going to go into ong-faced. So that's the handoff right there. So it should have just ended, losers call the kettle black, I'll simmer regardless, heart will pedal backwards, lacerations carved in. Something, long-faced. Something, want capes. But he mixes it in, and that creates a handoff, that creates a rhythm, that creates a lace that goes through, that just makes it way more interesting than just a bunch of rhymes. And of course, the lyrics are badass as well, right? Watch the peasants settle for pebbles, get on my level, right? Losers call the kettle black, was the pot. Great lyrics here too, right? Heavy-hearted and long-faced. On the bright side, some heroes don't want capes. Kites flying over the circus and bronze drapes, knife crimes as soon as the burners go off safe. So there we have 3 multisyllabic runs in 2 lines that repeat. So we have the beginning rhymes, kite flying, knife crime, the middle rhyme, circus, burners, the end rhymes, bronze drapes, off safe. Know your place. So then he's able to create another, right? There's the handoff, right? Because the court jester demanded a raise, poor fool. So that raise connects to the safe and the drapes and the place and the faced, but now we're on to the or fool rhyme scheme. Do you see what he's doing? Don't understand, you was branded a slave. So now we got the middle rhyme of demanded with understand, branded, a slave, old school, hit you with the ruler and hand you a grade, pro tools, cut me out the womb like Angela Dave. So now this reference to Angela Davis, obviously the great civil rights activist and philosopher and writer. Dave, flawless. Now we're changing over, we're handing off the rhymes here. So we're done with the Dave rhymes, the grade rhymes. We're on to flawless, godless, fortress, guard with, the strong, the horseman. Anyways, and then just great lyrics like no qualms, calm as a shark in a small pond. No qualms, calm as a shark in a small pond. No qualms, calm as a shark in a small pond. Everybody, I don't care where you are. I don't care where you are. If you are on a bus, I don't care if you are at work. I don't care if you are sitting at the table with your family and pretending to be paying attention when you actually have my headphone in here. I want you to say these words out loud as you are comfortable saying them. No qualms, calm as a shark in a small pond. That's what rap music can do. That's what rap lyricism can do. And I find these lyrics interesting and engaging. They're just basically, flexing, talking about how awesome he is and how hardcore he is and all that. But it's just such a beautiful series of rhymes. And then he goes even deeper. There's like a little cut and then there's like this little interlude with these voices and these lower horns. Now the beat comes back, preservation comes back, and now the horns are a little bit lower. And the beat's a little bit funkier. And then we get some details of his life. Sex workers doing the thing that they're going to sell in my room in the East Africa hotel. I don't know what that means. 'Cause East Africa. Mali is in West Africa. That's fine. Paid for school. I paid her money. I can't front, but I'd be lying to say we partners just once. Bartender, vodka tonic. It's not for me. Mommy got a body. That's why she partied for free. He talks about his sobriety. He talks a lot about being in the club. He talks about not drinking. So, it appears. Listen. What do I know? I don't know what Gabe Nandez even looks like. I haven't watched a video. I haven't seen a single picture of him. I think he's the guy in the hat on the cover, and he probably isn't. But I would say that this album reveals the fact that addiction can be tricky, and often one might replace one addictive behavior with another. And perhaps the addictive behavior that's been replaced is substance abuse with sort of transient love affairs. But what do I know? Makes reference to wage war like we in Goma, the Congo, there's wars happening there. He has a whole bit where he actually mentions the Francophone, the country, like the term Francophone applying to how France has so consistently taken over. And it's like this weird thing where like in some ways it's positive because different areas of Africa are united by their speaking of French, and that does facilitate trade to a certain extent. But then obviously it's not worth the pain of colonization. It's not saying it's worth it, but it's kind of a complicated question, right? And then even a little bit of the guitar here actually sounds like the single note guitars from Malian guitars, from a certain kind of Tuareg style of guitar play, which I will discuss presently. So let's go through the rest of the album. Now that I've described to you like an amazing beat, an amazing rhyme scheme, a great B section. Then we get to the song Harmattan, which has this kind of Malian street market sound, I assume. I don't know. Just like these beeps in a single note guitar. And then we get to Spire. It is like the first like 4 tracks on this album are just so damn ill. Just they are. My 3-year-old's at the doctor right now, actually. She'll be coming home pretty soon. She has kind of a cough. If she were as ill as this album, I'd be taking her to the hospital. Ew, that's dark, dude. Stop improvising weird stuff that makes you scared for your family, Skye. And this guitar here, it reminds me of the guitar work of Ali Farka Touré. I'll tell you a little story. It's one of my favorite stories about the way things used to be. I was listening to college radio in Boston, Massachusetts, and I heard a song, and it changed my life. I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard, ever. And then they said the name, and I thought it was Al Beanie. Al Beanie. So I went to HMV Records. I went to the world record section of HMV Records because there was an entire section in Harvard Square. There's a music store that had a section just for world music and jazz. And I went to go talk to the pretentious, but turns out very helpful guy. And I was like, all that I knew about the song, because there was no internet, there's no Shazam. There was just me in 1994, just hearing this song and having it transform my life with its great repetitive drone structure and single note guitar and just like resolving and the singing. And it just transported me, which is one of the purposes of the music. This great nomadic music of West Africa, and I was transported as I was sitting in the parking lot of Filene's in Belmont Center. It doesn't even exist anymore, but that's where I was, okay? So there I was, and I went and I said Albini. And somehow this guy reverse engineered my stupidity and said, "Do you mean Ali Farka Touré?" And he did. And I listened to that, and it was amazing. And I still enjoy that kind of music. I think I reviewed Tina Ruyen recently, or in the last 5 years, another great Malian style. And just hearing his verse, it's just one verse. It just develops. And that's the thing. DJ Preservation knows how to evolve things gently and subtly and really well. Switch the channel. You could pick 2 different Conans, like Conan the Barbarian and Conan O'Brien. I don't know. It's kind of funny, right? Which one am I? Take you a close scan. Am I skimming the surface? I sound like I'm throwing hands. So feisty mourning dove down there. Skinning a cat, I learned how to beat on a dead horse. Many paths lead to Rome, 2 feet in my Air Force. And he talks about like being 7 years sober and about dating a 20-year-old. He's pushing 30, so listen. I know men are encouraged to date younger women, but it doesn't work out. It's not a good idea. Just date. Not about appropriate. It's just date people who are at the same level of intellectual development as you, and that goes for dating men as well. There's nothing wrong with 20-year-old dudes, but you don't want to date them if you're almost 30. That's okay. Then we get to the song Shadow Step. Pull out the cord, this mic, and entertain you well. A little sample here from Eric B. and Rakim. I think that's on purpose. A great, almost DJ Shadow-like underwater drum beat, this back and forth through these 2 notes of the keyboard. DJ Preservation. S tier. His voice here, though, it's a little bit less strong. It's a little bit less emphatic. Even though he has like an Eric B. style, he can actually get kind of quiet. It's really nice. The way the strings come out at the end of the verse here. More lyrics about like picking up ladies. If you can't afford it, then F them. You're just a goon. Which one is worse? the Klansman or the word for raccoon without the first half of the syllable. Soon enough will be leading us to doom unless you can think you've bent the tip of the spoon. Like the only way you can think that both racists and people of color who have given in to and accepted racism, that they are leading us all to doom, unless you think that you're so smart that you have mind powers, unless you think you can tip the spoon. Brilliant, political, interesting. Mui Sok is the next song, which I think is a close range fighting style of Thai. They just came back from the doctor. Super awesome tight drum, almost like Wu-Tang style coming in at the end of the phrase. Piano is just all over the place at the end of the phrase. So we got a whole thing happening over there. Do you see how, I better have earned your like right there, because I just saw my beautiful family through the window, and I'm still going to be talking about this album. Man, I got a good life, huh? And just the drum beat is basically off. It's like basically doesn't quite work, and it's just awesome. It's really, really avant-garde. That's what I'm saying. Round 1, you're feeling fresh. You just started. Round 2, you feel the depth. The breath departed. Round 3, you're seeing death. That's the target. Put my whole life in the text. That's the artist. There's a real old school kind of spirit to Gabe Nandez that I think people might really appreciate, just like old school, like I'm just going to be the best rapper. I'm going to kill you with my raps. And then we get to the track past that, then Morning Star, guitar and a double hi-hat. DJ Preservation is absolutely incredible. I don't know how he finds these beats or when he chooses to go there. Just a single note guitar. Again, every time you hear that kind of single note, it draws me back to Mali, it draws me back to Ali Farka Touré. Friend of mine, she loves Ali Farka Touré, and she was in Mali, and she wanted to go see him play in concert, but apparently the tickets were $70, and she was so upset that it was priced that high because it priced out the people of Mali who love him that she didn't go. He died a couple years ago. I asked her if she regretted it, and she said no. Gangster. I almost saw Prince at the Fox Theater in Oakland, but the tickets were $80, and I'm like, I'm not going to pay that. Apparently it was a 4.5-hour set. Very ridiculous. Just very mysteriously international, this whole song. The song actually feels more like Indonesian or something. I mean, he talks about Arjuna racing on the chariot on my coat of arms. I think Arjuna Racing, I looked it up, I think it's an Indonesian race company. Sunny Ali on amulets, silver, gold, and bronze. That's more tied into like these African kingdoms. There's even some comedy. I'm in the club next to the bouncer. I look like the bouncer. That's kind of funny. I'm in the club like the same 6 songs. Hilarious. Then there's a whole French outro. Again, so much of this album is about like mystery and not understanding it. Like you can't really see what's on the cover. You don't really understand the title. And then this whole discussion in French of things that cannot be explained. That there's things you can explain and things you can, and this is one of them. The next one's called Hierophant, which means heroic elephant. No, it's like a priest in ancient Greece who, according to the Wikipedia definition, interprets sacred mysteries and esoteric principles, which makes sense because this is a very esoteric album. It's almost an unsettlingly annoying beat. Starts and restarts. Almost sounds like the actual drum part of the beat sounds like a jazzy drum solo. But the beat does change just ever so subtly after the interlude. If you pay attention to this album and if you just have the instrumentals, you'd be like, oh my God, everything's so different, but it's just so smooth. And this has a Concept Jackson figure, which I like because he has kind of a higher voice. And it's always nice when someone is in the lower register to have someone visit who's in a higher register. Then we get War featuring Woods. Preservation's just showing off now. He's like the master of untuned horns. Oh my God, man, what's the song he did? What's the song he did on Gumby Wumby? Oh my God. It's that song that's like, they dropped in blood. What is that song? Anyways, you can tell me in the comments. It's like the super horrific one with the person like screaming and yelling, being like, he killed me. Super avant-garde. DJ Preservation. I apologize. It's a great junky percussion in the back, and then a really political stuff. It feels like maybe he's trying to up his political game because he knows he's on there with Woods. The genocide will be televised until it's normalized. I saw on Lyric Genius, they said this is in reference to the genocide that is happening in Israel, which may be stopping. But the sad thing is, that's not the only truth. There's so many genocides that have been televised until they're normalized. Certainly, this has to be part of it. There's a lot of genocides that have been televised and normalized. That's just the way it goes. Blow you back half a century, and you just pave the roads. And then a great intro to the Woods verse, like DJ Preservation kind of takes everything out and then brings in some horns. Born into this, I don't need a sponsorship. All that kill the rich, that's the easy shit. I love that. Like, the easy part is saying kill the rich. I'm not impressed, but I can admit, once you put him in the ground, everybody's spirits lift. I don't know if he's talking about the CEO who was executed in the street last year. It seems like probably. But I think that's more not specific, more general. Like, we all know there's a problem, and we all know the problem has to stop. All this is written, all this when you really needed was a hug. And then he says the word that means miserly, but sounds like N-wordly. So I'm just not going to say it, because I've already said the title of his album. I meant to say Gumby Wumby. When it's time, and he does use that word a lot in his music. When it's time to spread the love, the white man fidgety. It's true. You know, the history of the white man, like meaning like a representative, colonial, domineering force of whiteness, is good at spreading the word, but not at spreading love, especially when it comes to reparations. Hey, did we just give Venezuela $20 billion? We should. France and the United States should get together, matching funds, kick at least $40 billion to Haiti. Or put it aside until Haiti can figure out its stuff enough to give it to them. Jesus Christ, that's all they're asking for what they've been through? $20 billion, and we give it to a crypto scammer? I'm sorry, I try not to get political, but like, Jesus. Then we get to Ball and Chain, a really personal song that seems to be just about addiction. I think it's Dustin Hoffman in the beginning. These underwater drums, some bongos, anonymous soulful singing, and the sample extends, and the gospel, Ball and Chain, tap my brain with flawless aim from far away, this sort of thing. It's a lawless game. I was snorting cane out in Canada, had my coffin made, no Walking Dead, I would call it half when I bought them things. Ball and Chain, I'm addicted, revolving walls of shame. Just beautiful lyrics about addiction and the nature of addiction. And, I imagine some people who are watching this are addicts. I've been surrounded by addiction my entire life. I actually started smoking so that I would understand addiction. I haven't smoked in like 20 years. But like, I understand it, and it's terrible, and you should get help. Addiction's a terrible thing. And it's not straight. It's not a straight line. You might get unaddicted and then re-addicted again. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So plant that tree, break free of addiction if you can. And listen to Gabe Nandez for inspiration. Nom de guerre, crazy beat with this high whine and these shuffled syncopated drums and these pianos playing these single notes. It's just awesome. And then, nom de guerre is like a pseudonym that you use like whenever you're in war. It's like the name you use for warfare. It's almost like an epithet, like a different name you might have. Like rappers usually have epithets, have nom de guerre, right? And it's just like a total mixture of French and English. And they even say at a certain point, mon nom in there, which means my name. And this great back and forth with Ze Nakoma Mpaga Ngoko. I don't know who this man is. I looked him up on the internet. The only picture of him I see is an African mask. So is he African? Is he French? Is he Canadian? I don't think I hear a Canadian accent, but I don't know who this guy is. But I tell you one thing, he's ill. I mean, I listen to a lot of French rap. Actually, the new Yonis album came out. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Yvnnis. I'm probably going to review that too. Yeah, I listen to a lot of French rap, but he has this like rapid fire flow that you rarely hear in French rap that's just really good. And it's like a total back and forth. It's just seamless. It is totally for the bilingual population, people who are able to speak both, just relentless. I love it. And then at the very end, we have a quote from somebody that says, "Are you proud of these words?" Yes, I'm proud of these words, not necessarily these deeds, but I'm proud of these words. I think what we need to do is understand that is the essence of most rap music. When rappers rap about doing bad things, they might not be proud of the deeds, but they are proud of the words, the way they said it. I wish we were able to hold those things in our mind. And then we get to respected calligraphy, the crazy vinyl crackle with some spoken words. You got to make sure it's the real thing. I almost hit some dude who was doing road work when I listened to the song for the first time. Basically whisper about like drinking and driving and getting away with it. And he says he's not proud of it, which ties into the last thing of the song. He's proud of the words, not of his actions. And then these great political lyrics. Guilty other times was just an innocent black man. They hold signs up telling them not to shoot. Make sure you get a picture and post it to show the proof. Youth, little black squares and hashtags, talking about the way the performative anti-racism that people do, the black squares on Twitter or Black Lives Matter signs in your lawn. Hey, listen, I had a Black Lives Matter sign in my front lawn until it literally fell apart. It was like maybe last winter, and it wasn't performative, whatever. It was just kind of like things keep happening, and it always felt like if I took it down, I was like daring the universe to give me another reason to put it back up. It was kind of like a superstitious thing, Anyways. But this is talking about and it kind of ties in with something that Woods is going to say soon. But it's this whole kind of theme of it's part of this whole theme. Like there's like a weird like colonial legacy of white people, white people, you see me, I'm one of you, right? Where first we like colonized and we took over and we stole and we raped and we murdered and we killed and we stole and we enslaved. And then we were forced to undo that. And then now we're evolved. And now we don't do that for the most part. We try not to do that for the most part. I mean, okay, we currently have an administration that's trying to do all those things. But in general, we've evolved. But there's still a lot of that colonial thinking, a lot of that colonial behavior, which we might not really know or even be able to notice. And in some ways, the little black squares and hashtags are showing that off because of how blind we might be to the actual plights, right? I put up that sign all the while knowing that I live in a suburb of what is considered to be literally the most segregated city in the entire country, So like, ooh, good for me, right? Don't forget Atlanta and LA, it's like Baghdad. Don't forget your sweatshop Nikes and marching for liberation. That's true. Made in Pakistan jackets you bought with your revelations. Got dumb motherfuckers with smartphones. He's on fire, everybody. Dumb motherfuckers with smartphones. I'm in the club, sober, contemplating my way home. I'm making my thoughts known. Just great. Just, calling out our hypocrisy. Calling out hypocrisy is not the same thing as solving hypocrisy, but acknowledging hypocrisy is the first step towards like actually acting in accordance with what your stated beliefs are. So these are useful lyrics. Oh my God. And then there's this whole and you don't stop and you shoot a shot, kind of an intentional, iconic, old style rapping. This organ comes through almost like goblin style. Then we get the Mondo Cane. Jesus Christ. An unexpected posse cut beat here, wandering 80s synthesizer, some breath back in the fourth, and it's called Mondo Cane. So back in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s and 60s and 50s, from the invention of pornography up until the invention of online pornography, the second that one's parents left the house, young men, and I presume some young boys, and I presume young girls sometimes too, but definitely young boys, scour the house to see if there's any hidden pornography anywhere, because that's the only way you're ever going to get to see boobies, right? That's the way that it is. Yeah, my friend down the street, his dad had the penthouse with Madonna in it, but the dad had cut it out and taken it to work with him. Anyways, so so I'm in there. I had some success in the past finding such materials, but one time I went and I looked in like a sock drawer, and what did I find? But a movie. Oh my God, a VHS movie, Mondo Cane. This title right here. And so I was like, oh my God, here we go. I checked the time, made sure my parents would be gone. I looked at I made sure to mark on the tape where it was, and I pressed play, and it was the most unpleasant thing I've ever done in my entire life. There are these weird Mondo movies. There's an entire genre of movies after this movie, Mondo Cane, came out in 1962, that are weird exploitation, like fake documentaries about often staged things where usually the thesis is, oh my God, look at all of these Africans, look at all of these Asians, look at how crazy they are, look at the crazy things that they do, look at them eating eyeballs and I don't know what. So the visceral response I had to this just the title, just thinking of that time in my parents' bedroom, trying to watch Mondo Cane, hoping it was pornography. And instead it was just like tales of cannibalism. And basically, it was basically a lot like this. It was basically a lot like that. And there's many movies in this style that are all just like that. Just basically like, look at the not white people doing not white things. Isn't this scary and interesting? So just the title itself, I'm just like, hey, we are right. Props to Preservation for being on Ethiops and this, and props to Billy Woods and props to Backwoods, because like these albums go so well together. They're doing such a great job of presenting like the history of race and colonial thinking and post-colonial thinking and resistance. It all goes together. It's just great. Turn My Back on You, Peep My Jacket, Shit Is Fly, 98, West Bank, Lazarus, I Was Five, Dome of the Rock, Crusade, Paladins in the Skies. Okay, that's probably about Palestine. Then we get Woods' verse. July 4th, Greasy Sliders, I'm Frying Gristle, Buyer's Remorse, Pissed, Snipers Missed. Gotta kill a tyrant with a pistol. Close enough to smell their last breath, close enough to kiss you. Okay. Do you know, okay, this is, by the way, this has been a weird year for rap music. The Rhapsody, Absol, and Joey Badass tour being canceled really hit me hard. But we have the Open Mike Eagle Project, we have the Woods Project, we have the McGinley-Dixon Project, we have so many great underground rap projects, including this. And this right here, Tucker Carlson should have done a whole special about this. First of all, referring to America as buyer's remorse, like we bought our independence from England, like July 4th is buyer's remorse. For the rest of my goddamn life, when July 4th happens, I'm going to go buyer's remorse. And then the sniper missed, because he's talking about the time when Trump was allegedly shot in the ear. Why'd you shoot me in the ear? You should have shot me in the body. That's what I thought when that happened. Tell me in the comments if you know the reference. But like, there's no way to interpret what he's saying other than saying that I can't even say what he's saying. Do you know if you say the thing that he's implying, you get put on an FBI watch list? At least that's what I was told. So he's talking about ending the life of somebody who's extremely powerful with a notoriously strange haircut. I know these flunkies very clever, but Humpty Dumpty not going back together never. So if we were to succeed in exterminating the life of somebody who I'm talking about here, go back to my country with the severed head of Nebuchadnezzar, like the king of Babylon, and calling the current leader of the United States of America, Nebuchadnezzar. These Babylonians raised me like no one could do it better. It's like the violence that he would visit upon Nebuchadnezzar, which is just the word I will use to refer to the current president of the United States of America, that no one can do it better. Because like the Babylonians taught him, like the violence, the chickens, the coming home to roost thing, the whole Malcolm X thing, chickens coming home to roost. It's because our society is so violent that violent things happen, and we are trained to be violent. We are trained for these things. And it's also a reference to the DOC. Nobody could do it better. Probably the second most underrated West Coast rap album of the 80s. Number one is King T's Act a Fool, which I put up there as probably one of my top 3 favorite rap albums of all time. And DOC, all produced by Dr. Dre. Super great album. It could be done, but only I can do it. And then Elucid comes on. And like always, having Elucid next to Gabe apostrophe Nandez is a bit dicey because their voices are similar enough. But as always, Elucid has a whole verse and then just nails it with the final line. The desert was a jungle once. Then we get to the song Kurtz, more vinyl hiss, very thin drum machine, programmed ethereal sounds, and a quote from Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now is one of my favorite movies, and Apocalypse Now is definitely thematically linked, because Apocalypse Now is the story about an American general who goes to Vietnam, and it was actually originally a Joseph Conrad story. It originally took place in Africa, right? That's why it was called Hearts of Darkness, because in the darkest parts of Africa. But it's about somebody from a colonial power who goes to the colonized place and then essentially loses their mind and becomes a kind of cult leader in the woods, in the jungle, actually, right? And like, and the sort of like weird inversion, and like loses the colonizer values, but still maintains a colonial dominating nature, right? Colonel Kurtz, played by Marlon Brando, is one of the best characters in movie history, and he didn't even know any of his lines. And he improvised a lot of these lines. I've seen horrors. Horrors that you've seen. But you have no right to call me a murderer. You have a right to kill me. You have a right to do that. But you have no right to judge me. It is impossible for words to describe what is necessary to those who do not know what horror means. Horror. Horror has a face. And you must make a friend of horror. Horror and mortal terror are your friends. If they are not, then they are enemies to be feared. They are truly enemies. I remember when I was with Special Forces, seems 1,000 centuries ago, we went into a camp to inoculate the children. When we left camp, after we had inoculated the children for polio, this old man came running after us. He was crying. He couldn't see. We went back there and they'd all come. They'd hacked off every inoculated arms. And there they were in a pile of little arms. And I remember, I cried. I wept like some grandmother. I wanted to tear my teeth out. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I want to remember it. I never want to forget it. I never want to forget. And then I realized like I was shot with a diamond bullet right through my forehead. And I thought, my God, the genius of that, the will to do that. Perfect. Genuine. Complete, crystalline, pure. That's the bit that was sampled in the song. Because they could stand that these, and then I realized they were stronger than we. Because they could stand that these were not monsters. These were men, trained cadres. These men who fought with their hearts, who had families, who had children, who were filled with love, but they had the strength to do that. If I had 10 divisions of those men, our troubles here would be over very quickly. You have to have men who are moral, and at the same time who are able to utilize their primordial instincts to kill without feeling, without passion, without judgment. Because it's judgment that defeats us. So anyways, that's what that comes from. So I love the idea of Colonel Kurtz as a figure in the song, somebody who understands the purity and lack of moral ambiguity. Like they knew what to do. They know that whatever just happened, they need to cut off the arm to save it. Like that strength, that level of resistance. That's the thing. That's why we did not win the Vietnam War, by the way. That's why they won, because they were willing to cut off the arm because it was inoculated by the colonizers. Just great. Relentless rap style here. Even more political stuff here. If slavery builds construction, America's a dungeon. Body shit on percussion. No one can fucking touch it. This whining guitar is fortunately low enough in the mix not to bug me. Lotus Flower seems like the guitar is just continuing on from the last song. Some triumphant horns here. Totally drumless with this falsetto singing. Did I mention there was singing on the last song? It's crazy. And he actually describes it Lotus Flower. Did you know that there's a medical condition or a psychological condition that looking at a pod of a lotus flower makes you sick? My wife told me this while we were watching White Lotus, and I said, that's ridiculous. And so I just decided for fun to open up, I decided to click on a picture on Google of a lotus flower, and I almost threw up. Even thinking about it now makes me sick. There's some weird psychological thing. They've got these weird little beady little fucking thing. You just look at them and you just want to throw up. And he describes it right here. Lotus flower giving birth to origin. The black hole, flaps fold. Blossom wither, seasons passing people. Ugh. Gross. Gross. You should go right now. Go on Google. Look up lotus flower. If it makes you puke, tell me in the comments. If it makes you physically ill to look at a lotus flower, you tell me in the comments. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. That's what I said to my wife. I said, don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby, but you put that on me. And there's a great quote at the end. It's a doggy dog world. Watch me, watch me. So just a brilliant album. At some point, I forget where on the album, he mentions fruit bats. This is my favorite Bluey story. Good night, fruit bat. So I just thought I'd show that up there. Plus, my daughter's looking through the window. It's in the song. In the album, he says, I'm a fruit bat. All right. So there you go. There's my review. Have you heard this album? I hope you have. And thank you to all who are watching. I really appreciate it. I said that my channel is dying, but in some ways, my channel is being reborn. Because the less I care about views, the better I feel. All right. There's the camera.